Welcome to Chapter 8, Section 3. This is the second part, Part C, D, and E for our standards. Our objective in this whole lesson is all about sectors. We're learning to calculate circumference and area of sectors. And our question is, how do I use area and circumference to find area of sectors and arc length? An arc of a circle is a segment of the circumference of the circle. It might be half of the circle, a quarter of the circle. It might be 20% of the circle. So we need to find out what portion of the circle that represents in order to calculate the arc length. A sector of a circle would be the inside. So if you think of a pie or a pizza, when you cut it up, the inside of that food would be the sector. And it's a portion that's cut out of the area of the whole circle. So again, we need to figure out what portion of the circle's area is the segment representing. The radius of a circle is 5 centimeters. What is the area of a sector bounded by a 90-degree arc? A 90-degree arc means it's a 90-degree angle on the inside, and we know that a 90-degree angle represents 25% of a pie, or 1/4. And so we know that this is a quarter of the circle. So in order to figure this out, we would start by calculating the area, and we get the area of the entire circle by taking 3.14 times 5 squared, pi r squared. So our whole circle area is 78.5. This is 1/4 of that. So in order to figure out what portion that represents, we would take our total area divided by 4 to get an area of 19.625 square centimeters for just that blue shaded portion. Find the distance around the semicircle below. Now we're looking for arc length, so we're looking for this outside edge. So we want to see what that equals, first of all, and then we're looking for the full distance around. So this is a semicircle, which means that it's half of a circle. So we start by finding the circumference of the whole circle, which is pi. Oops, let's try that a little bit easier to read. Pi times diameter, and the diameter is 12. We're using 3.14. So our whole circumference is 37.68. We have a semicircle, so we divide it by 2. That equals 18.84. So now we know this arc length is 18.84 inches. However, we're being asked for the distance around the semicircle, so that's the whole yellow highlighted portion. So we need to add 12 plus 18.84 together for 30.84 inches. Most often we're just asked for the arc length, but we need to watch out for those scenarios where they're asking for more. The area of the sector below is 62.8 square units. Use that information to find the arc length. 62.8 square units is the area of the sector. So that's the inside of this. We want to find the arc length. So how do area and arc length have anything to do with each other? Well, in order to find what portion of the circle this represents, we need to use a ratio. So the ratio for this is going to come from the area of the sector out of the area of the whole shape. Now you have to use your imagination a little bit. These numbers were changed, so the shape isn't really the right size for what it should be for the numbers, but be creative and work with me. So to find the area of the entire circle, we would do pi r squared, which is the same as multiplying radius times radius, and we get 78.5 units squared. To find the fraction that the sector area is of the whole area, we divide the sector by the whole area, and we get 0.8. Now you could use a fraction for this, you could use a decimal, and really what that means is this represents 80% of the circle's area. Again, that doesn't visually look like it, but what's important right now are the numbers. So we want to find out what 80% of the circumference is to get the arc length. So first we need to find the circumference, 3.14 times the diameter, which is 10, 31.4. Remember, to find percent of something, we would multiply the decimal, 0.8 times 31.4 for 25.12 units. So that represents the arc length. Last problem is one that we pulled from the MCA practice test from a few years ago. It says a sector of a circle is shown. We can see that we have a radius of 5 centimeters and an arc length of 6.28 centimeters. So some of these numbers are going to look familiar because we're working with a 5 centimeter radius and we just worked with 5 units. So since we have the circumference of the arc length, we want to find the circumference of the whole shape, multiply 3.14 times 10, and then find the fraction that results. So we take our part, our arc length, divided by our whole circumference, and we get 0.2. So this sector is 20% of the whole circle. So once we know the area, we would multiply that by 20%. So to find the area, pi r squared, again, we just got done doing this, so 78.5 units centimeters squared. 78.5 times 0.2, 15.7 centimeters squared is the area of the sector. And that's it. If you get stuck, try to problem solve using the information that you're given. Figure out what percent or what portion of the circle is being represented, and use the circumference and area to help you back and forth between the two.